first thing I want to say is just congratulations to the people who were accepted this year and to the alumni who are definitely coming back. It's really, I think I said this last time, but it's an incredible group this year. And there's an amazing amount of energy in the word, like in the text that you guys have sent. And what I've really noticed about the applications in terms of who's been accepted is this depth, this sort of profundity of thought and an intellectual capacity, even if it's a genre that's, fun and, it's just going to slide on over the reader's head, that profundity, but they're getting the story or whatever. They might get it on a lot of different layers, but the person has it. I can feel it from the applications, and it's been just like a joy to read it. And similarly with the alumni who are returning, it's an incredible group. So you guys all meld together and have an amazing year. And I want to talk a little bit about why people return to the Academy, because I think it will help some of the newer questions. So people return to the Academy because it is a community of incredible literary intelligence. So all the time that you're in this oasis, this sanctuary, this incubation that is the Gateless Academy, you're getting fed. You're getting fed inspiration. You're getting fed the creative in all its forms. We're looking at the brain science. So we're going to these deep, deep rooms that you may never have touched inside the self that have ideas. They have storyboards. They have a wealth of creative energy, these rooms that you are going to draw from while you're in the academy. So this idea that you're going to come into the academy and work on one thing and one thing only, it's like maybe you will do that. Absolutely. And you arc it and you finish it. But the thing about the academy is that it's here to distill what you really want to do into your consciousness. So everything right now is around in your subconscious, the unconscious. And a lot of times there's confusion at the beginning. Do I even have a book in me? Do I have a fourth book in me, a second book? Where am I with my creativity? Can I do this? Am I going to get stuck? It doesn't, those questions can't even touch what this is. This is not an online course. This is a landscape that you're entering, a creative landscape. It has been around for a long time, and it is going to meet your creative at all its points so that you can find what's inside of there and you can bring it forth. And you're probably going to be really surprised by what happens this year. You can stay laser focused on this book that you want to do, and that is absolutely possible. And we will talk about the arc of how do I do this? If I don't have the book, if I have a whole book and I'm just wanting to sell it, like, how do I use the academy? We're going to talk about all of that. But I want to say that it's incredible what happens. It's like we had a writer a few years back who came in specifically to write her novel, and it was an incredible novel. It was like sort of a speculative historical about Lilith and Eve, and we were all just like fascinated by it. And suddenly she started to write about the fact that she was diagnosed with autism very, very late in her life. And while she was in the academy, she wrote an essay about it, and the essay got picked up and it went viral. And because she was in the academy, she knew all about proposals and she knew how to sell a nonfiction book. So when an agent found the essay and contacted her and was like, we need a proposal right now because this is going out everywhere, she knew how to do that. And she just got it together. She asked a bunch of questions in the academy. She got it together. She sold it, and it has been like on so many bestseller lists and award-winning lists. And it was like, did she know that she was going to write a memoir? But it's a really good memoir. And it is that she had all the skills and all the tools and the network and everything that she needed to build the book that finally came to her. Will she go back to her novel? Yeah, probably after she gets through with her book tour and, sort of has done all the speaking engagements and everything, the novel will be there for her. But I want you guys to try to start to think about this year as a creative incubation. And when we get really rigid, like, oh my God, I don't know, I have to write only this thing, or oh my God, what if I get stuck? What if I'm not able to like do this and my life? That is something that we've been taught, right, from the system that we're inside of when we're not in Gateless. There's only one thing you can do. You have to do it like this. You can't do more than one thing. You know, all of these strictures that have been put on us are not creative and they're not actually real. That's not how the mind works. The mind is going into a million rooms. And most people that I work with are not just working on one thing, or they are like Deb, realizing, like, I actually kind of want to fictionalize this. I think it's going to be more fun. Good. That's her next landscape that she gets to enter. Will the book get done? If Deb doesn't decide for herself that, like, oh my God, I'm terrible. I now I'm doing something else. I never finish things. I'm not going to be able to do this. Then she's probably not going to finish it. But what's beautiful about Gateless is we're looking at that. You're not going to have a situation where you're going to feel all constricted like that and have nothing to do with it. We're going to sit together and I'm going to ask you questions and I'm going to be gateless with you and you're going to find your way out of that stuck place. So I want you guys to just really relax that you're in the right place. This has been thought out. We have researched. We have looked at every avenue that the writer needs to go down, that the creative needs to go down to meet you guys there. This is about support. And it's about giving you agency. And it's about really hearing your vision and hearing where you're moving and how you're growing as a creative. And that is so rich. It's very hard to imagine it right now because we do not live in a world that gives us that. We are in depth deprivation right now. We do not have these kind of riches and you're going to get them and you kind of can surrender yourself to that. You're going to be very held in a way that you probably haven't been held in a really long time. So we're going to talk about all these questions and then we're going to kind of check in and say, like, how are you doing as a whole? Did these questions bring up other questions for you? And hopefully I'm going to be able to talk to each of you a little bit who had the questions, um, who brought them, you know, with you in terms of writing us an email about them so that it's not in absentia of like our warm connection. But if also you sent me a question and you know you're not on the call right now and you're listening to the replay, I getcha. I getcha, baby. So I'm going to bring Jessica Cantor up here because she is an alumni whose book is out to agents, and she has an agent who's very interested. She's trying to kind of decide if that's her person. And Jess, are you here, love? Or should I answer this without you being here? Try to find you. I know she had to leave early today. Okay, so Jess is asking about editing while you're in the academy. So this is for somebody who's you've kind of already conceptualized the next book. And maybe you're even doing a look back at the book that's in its final. Like her book is out to sale, but she'll probably work on it, you know, with the agent. And then when it goes to the acquisitions editor at the house, she'll also be looking at a revision. So the Academy was designed in order that it will meet you in the revision process and it will meet you when you have 40,000 words on the page and it will meet you when you have an idea or several ideas. That's kind of how it's set up. How does that work? How could that possibly work? Well, the book is made up. The architecture of the book has all these elements to it that you're going to learn about. And when you're in revision with these elements, you are going to look at the book, you know, the manuscript, the landscape of what you've created already, and you're going to go through the academy and approach these elements with an eye towards revision. So, for example, say you are wanting to revise the book and you want to deepen character, because if you're doing a novel, the most important thing is voice and character, right? And then you also have plot and you have all these different pieces, but you've got to have those characters because we have to be fascinated by them. We have to want to follow them. So when you're looking at character, what the Academy does is it gives you all these pieces of developing character that are really fun to play with. They give you a lot of agency on the page. Whether you're doing a how-to, a memoir, a novel, you're going to really have to know character very deeply. It has to have a complexity and a layering to it. And most people, they don't know if they have that even. Like, well, are they layered enough? Do I have that complexity that I'm supposed to have? Are these people like interesting in a propulsive way in terms of letting the reader turn the pages? And what the Academy does, if you're in revision, is you get to take all those pieces of how to build those kinds of characters and you look at your character and you ask the question, do I have these elements inside these places where the character shows up in the book? So it gives you almost like a cheat sheet or a treasure hunt when you're in revision. And you might spend a couple of hours going through your book if you're in revision and only looking at dialogue, having the tools up there for what makes great dialogue. How do I cut the ends off? How am I doing gesture? How am I doing two people that haven't yet, that's a sort of a surprise to the reader, they haven't yet been on the page together, like all these points of dialogue, and then you just go through the book and you look at each piece of dialogue and you match it up to your craft. And when you have that kind of ability to understand the elements of the book with that amount of depth and detail, it's not that it takes that long. It actually takes a lot less time than starting from page one and going to page 330 and editing the whole thing. It's like, oh, all right, I'm just going to look at beginnings. I'm going to look at the beginning of my scenes, beginning of my chapters, the beginning of the book itself, and I'm going to make sure it has that grounding the reader, grounding the character, the global frame, like all these things. And even if a writer is on their eighth book, it's so easy to forget these elements and to forget that you have agency over your story. So that's why people keep coming back and back and back. It's like, oh yeah, I have to remember these things, or else the book kind of sags in places. It's like we call it the hammock. Like, it's not quite it's not quite standing up in the way it needs to. So I think when you move through the academy in revision, you're using the elements in order to look at each element that you've already written. But when you're using the academy to start something new, it's giving you inspiration. It's stimulating you in terms of ideas of like, how do I want to build this character? Oh, I have an idea. I can do this. Or how do I want to build these dialogue scenes? Or would I have a scene where these two are together? Yes, because that's fresh. What do I want to do with my settings? Are they varied enough? Are they too varied? And you're kind of allowing yourself to look at these elements and feel inspired by them. You're not checking the work that's already done. You're actually allowing it to feed what you're creating, and you're making it really abundant and big. It's like Daisy was here yesterday working on her next novel, and we were talking about just how much layering you want to do in the novel. And you kind of, with the academy, you're able to be like, oh, and I could put this in, and oh my God, I forgot about that element. And oh yeah, I can add a global frame. It doesn't have to be political. It can be the heat wave of 2023, and that feeds into this. And so when you're creating, it gives you all these ideas. So I would say don't get hung up on maybe where you are. Wherever you are, you're going to be able to use these elements. They're incredibly helpful. And they also make you feel almost like before you have them, it feels like you're just like water all over the place. The book is just like, yeah, it's water. It's finding its way everywhere. And then you have the academy and it brings it into sort of, it gives you the banks for that river, and the river gets full and it gets fast. And that's the sort of propulsive nature of the narrative and the scene that gets built when you're inside of sort of the incubation of the academy. So I think Jess, you're asking too if your book, she asked if her book is going to fall apart because she feels like if she goes back and edits it and like starts to pull these strings in terms of the editing process, like, oh, I'm going to shape this part or I'm going to pull this scene out, that it's all going to fall apart. And I would say that it's actually the opposite of that with editing and revising. It doesn't it doesn't make it fall apart. It makes it come together because you're sort of taking out the parts that no longer need to be there and you're shoring up the parts that are really, really strong. And sometimes, yeah, it falls apart a little bit. It's kind of like if you decide to clean your attic, and you have to have like everything in the hallway and in your bedroom and in the guest bedroom in order to even know what's in the attic. And then you can kind of do that hard work of like, well, I could put this up in the attic now. I never did before, but like I don't use it that much. But these things, I don't even know why I have them in my attic. So I'm going to throw them out. And that's a lot of what she's talking about in terms of like, oh my God, everything's going to fall apart. But it's a little like saying, oh my God, I don't want to deal with like the conflict in my relationship because what if it all falls apart? And usually, when you just put it on the table, you guys can figure it out. But if it's not on the table, it's a rocky ride. You're not sleeping well. You're like, is this going to break up? Isn't it? What is this? It's just better to just get it all out there. And where do we want to revise? Where do we want to edit? Is this working? What about it works? Let's grow that. It's like that. So I just try not to be afraid of revision and editing. Try to think of it not as fixing it or, even changing it that much. It's more of sort of making it more of what it is. It's allowing it to be as big as it wants to be and as powerful as it wants to be. That's why you have the tools. Don't be afraid to use them. When you look at a hunk of marble, you might like love the hunk of marble and you might worry that if I do anything to this marble, if I carve it, then what's it going to look like? But I have a shape in my mind and yeah, it's going to look really awkward at first, but you're going to polish and smooth and you have the instruments and you have the tools and it will probably look really beautiful in the end. So that's what I would say to you, Jess. I'm sorry you can't be here. She's a single mom now, so. And keep in mind that all these calls are going to be like that. You're not going to be able to come to some. Or Laura's here. She often will listen to them afterwards while she's walking, and that's totally fine. You're going to get your questions answered. So, Molly, I want to talk to you, love. Where are you? I know you had to go too. And if you're not here, we can move on to somebody else's question. Are you here? I mean, one of the things I wanted to talk to Molly about is she's like, well, I'm getting more into the visual art. The word feels dangerous. Maybe I should just stay with the visual art of, she does work with fiber and um I think what's dangerous is not the written word, but the fear of it. And the story that Molly has is so powerful. And being afraid to tell a powerful story is completely natural. But what you want to remember is the power of that story is indestructible, but it might take a different shape. It may not be that story that you're going to tell, but the power of the story will find another literary form. And while fiber art is beautiful, there's no reason that you can't do the visual art while you're also working with the power of the word, particularly if it's calling to you. There's nothing more satisfying than being able to articulate that power onto the page, that power of a story onto the page, and allow it to find its form. It's almost like we beat it up before it's been able to express itself as anything. It's like, go away. I'm scared. You're gonna do things and you're gonna go out into the world and I'm afraid of you. And that's totally normal. And so much of the academy deals with that fear because it is big. But instead of beating up the story, what we want to do with that feeling of fear is work into it. Where does it come from? Why is it there? Who gave it to you? What are you afraid of? Because the fear has power too. The fear is something that can be transmuted into the work. So you know how much power fear has. You know what it feels like to have something here or in your gut. And you walk around with it and you're like, wow, I hope nobody notices I'm a freaking wreck inside. I feel so afraid. And imagine if the force of that, if the energy of that could be transformed into an energy that works for you. Not as like positive affirmations and we'll just turn it around into a nice thought. It doesn't work like that. It's like it is something. So let's get it out and look at it and ask it a bunch of questions and see right through the fear finally to the power and then integrate that power into the work. Because that's what the first month is all about. Writing is alchemical. This is art. This is like, let's get in there and figure out what is the nature of a writer's block. Not like tie up the writer's block and stick it on a John Hancock chair and pretend it's not there and just do your work and get it done. And it's not interesting because now you have this whole fire sitting beside you, strapped to a John Hancock chair, instead of, wow, what is this? This is how we make art. We look at the fear because your fear is identical to somebody else's. It might have a different voice, but it is identical to somebody else's. And so when you're able to use that fear and integrate it into the work to make the story more powerful, what you're doing is connecting in a very deep way with your reader. Because I have the fear and you have the fear, and nobody's talking about the fear, and we're trying to tie up the fear instead of recognizing like that's where I meet the reader. This is where I meet the reader. This is where our stories really talk to each other in this very deep place. But the fear can be transmuted into something quite beautiful. So the whole first month of the academy is about that. It's about like what is this thing that I'm feeling? What is this fire? This thing that's making me want to, no, I don't want to tell the story. Really? Do you really not want to tell the story, or do you want to tell it in a different way? Or is something else calling to you? What is this energy? Let's not pack it away. Let's not, as the writer I talked to yesterday, let it become a tumor. Not to use any fear tactics, but it's always good to write instead of let it take you over, you know. So, Nisreen, how do you say your name, sweetheart? I've emailed with you so much and I don't know how to say it. She's also in Thailand, so I don't know if she's here either. But she has a great question. No, I'm not seeing here. Okay, let me just read it over quickly. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is such a good question because so many people have it. First of all, she has an incredible story, and she's saying, like, there's going to be war in there, there's going to be familial war and other kinds of war and like bombings. And, she has a real story to tell. And what happens when we have this huge story that we want to tell that may involve ancestors, it may involve the family of origin, it involves real people, is that we get scared that, what she's saying is, I love my family. I don't want to throw people under the bus. I don't want to make them feel exposed. I don't want to create a piece of art, literary art, and then feel like I'm isolated, from the people that love me and that I love. So, how do you do that if you want to tell a story but you don't want to alienate yourself from other people? That is actually, believe it or not, a big part of craft and why it works. So if you look at writers who are very sophisticated in their craft, meaning they really have written for a long time, they've done programs like this, they understand technique, they understand how to work scene, chapter, how to build character, all of it in a very, very sophisticated way. What they use in their work is detail instead of opinion. So what detail does is you become the EYE, the I of the world of the book, rather than the big I, like he was a jerk or he was definitely narcissistic or I didn't like it one bit or I was sad or all of that stuff gets to float away and you're moving the work into detailed scene instead. So if you're the EYE, if you're just saying like, well, he was wearing a, old pair of Levi's and a t-shirt to the wedding, then like, okay, this guy doesn't really care about the wedding. We don't need to really know. A pair of flip-flops and everybody else was in tuxes and he was late. It's like, all right, well, I'm getting a little picture here. And as the scene moves on, you're giving those kinds of details to allow your reader to see through scene what's actually happening, the disrespect or the inability to understand forum or whatever it is that you're trying to show in that moment. And you choose detail, and this is taught in the academy in order to elicit emotion from the reader, not to push it, but just to show it. So if I'm looking out my window and I'm seeing the arthritic limbs of dark trees against a twilight sky, that gives you a different mood than if I tell you about the stars peeking through. So the use of details, it's not as much a device or a manipulation as it is a tool for mood, a tool for your reader to understand who these people are without you having to give your opinion of who they are. My mother was selfish. You don't have to say your mother was selfish. You just tell about the day that you went to lunch and exactly what she said and how she talked about your weight and whether or not she was willing to help you with the surgery that was coming up that you didn't have enough money for. It's facts, and facts are details. And so you use those. And if you're really afraid, you can do something like Deb did, which is, okay, maybe I'll fictionalize this. Why not? And what the Academy does is it gives you the arc of the novel, the elements of the novel, and it also gives you the elements of the memoir. And you get to decide, oh, I think I'm going to go towards the novel instead of the memoir because XYZ, or I think I'm going to stick with the memoir, but I'm going to use detail in order that I don't get in trouble for saying my own opinion. So there are a lot of ways to sort of slice that really particular question that can be sometimes the death of a book. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what people will think. I'm afraid that I won't have anybody left. Does that happen sometimes? Yes. But the majority of the time that we've seen for books that come out of the academy that are true, where the author was afraid that they would never see their family again or their family would stop talking to them, it just doesn't happen. It's like everybody kind of knows the truth and everybody sees themselves in the way that they want to see themselves. Like those projections that we give to each other, we're giving to ourselves too. And we often will see ourselves in the light that we want to see ourselves. It is incredible what happens when you get 10 people in a room who read the same book and everybody is saying different things about it. And that happens in the family too. So I remember when Marshall Chapman finished her first book, Goodbye Little Rock and Roller, and I think she called me like every day and was like, I'm so nervous about my mom. I can't stop thinking about my mom, like reading this. And then her mom loved that book. She brought it to her bridge club. She brought it to her country club. She was like so proud. And it was like, Marshall was like giving blowjobs to musicians. I mean? It was like her mother's a very proper, like has tea at 3 in the afternoon. And so it can be very scary for many reasons, but it usually works out. And craft will really, really help to soften it. Okay, Samantha. I think Samantha is here. I hope somebody's here. I feel
I'm
so
here.
alone. Hi, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm good.
I'm glad to see you, love. I loved your selection. It was great to read it. And okay, so verb tense is coming up for you because you're writing a memoir that brings past stories and present moments together. So there are stories you're recalling, right? And then stories you're dropping into and that you're currently living, some of them. And so the tense is all getting confused. So yeah, it is confusing, right? To try to move from one tense to another. Um, do you feel like when you're writing the book that you're very aware of the structure yet of like, this is when I'm going to go into the past and this is when I'm going to stay in the present? Or tell me about where you are with it, like how far you've come with that understanding.
Right, that's the best question to ask me because no, I don't. I'm just starting to get an idea of the structure. I have like 30,000 words, and most of them are these vignettes that have just like come pouring out of me, and I love them all. And so I just realized that I don't really have a narrator yet. Like I know what the story is, but I'm not really like walking the reader through the vignettes. And I think that will probably is that what will solve my my verb tense issue?
Yeah, well, yeah, really well. So I would really let yourself write right now because what you want to do is sort of allow the book to show itself to you and what it's trying to do with the past and the present in these vignettes. And sometimes things like verb tense, point of view, even for novelists, like they can get kind of trippy because we feel like we should know them. And it almost feels like you can't move forward unless you know them. But you're going to be able to once you understand what what form the work wants to take. And the work will show you the difference between like this is why I'm in these stories now, this is why I'm in the past, but then I want to go to the way past, what do I do there? That's all craft, but what we want you to do now is not worry. That's like a little muscle. And if you, when you think about building the book, it's good to think of an upside down pyramid. So imagine that little piece is on the sand and then the bigger part is first. And so you're looking at the whole book in the beginning. You're kind of like, what is this? You know, and you want the whole book to kind of stream itself out. And even organization, like, oh, I got to make a chapter. How do I make a chapter? Or like, is this, should this go first or should this go second? Should the tense be here? Should I do this point of view or should I leave it? Should I really have something that happened when I was 18 or 8? Or do I do the child's voice here? Like, really, if you can kind of let it like you are, just rise and move to the page. All of those things are things that you're going to make a decision about once you have a banquet of scenes and you'll be able to understand, oh, this is where the work was going. That's what we talk about when we talk about like everything that grows will find a pattern. It will begin to find that pattern for you and then it will become clear. I mean, we're probably going to talk about it again together in craft in the craft sessions. You're probably going to bring it up again like, "Oh my God, I don't know, is this right or wrong?" and we can keep talking about it. But for now, I think it's really exciting that you're getting vignettes because the book is usually made up of vignettes. It's usually made up of what I call lily pads, where like this scene or this memory or this something will drop and then this other thing will drop. And at the beginning, it can feel a little like, did they are these talking to each other? Like, are these going to even be in the same book? Why is this related to that? But if you let it come like that with the vignettes, and then you get the craft in the academy through kind of osmosis, and I can talk about what that means, it will start to find sort of a pattern or a current. Is this making sense? Can you kind of,
Yeah,
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 okay.
it's like 100,000 million% making sense, and I just feel again like I'm exactly where I need to be right now, and I just like I'm sweating. I just love it so much. Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
just love
Yeah.
it so
Yeah,
much.
I'm glad. And I'm so glad you brought it up because I think when we listen to the craft seminars, we don't want to take them as like an academic, I gotta write notes on like you have them. You're gonna have them for 10 months. What's best is for you to almost let them come in sort of this in the subtle body. Do you know what I mean? It's not in the like cram this in and I gotta learn how to do a beginning and did I memorize? It's not like that. It's like you'll see once you get into them that they're made to integrate into the theta brain state. So you're going to find that your work is going to change from these seminars in a way that you're going to be so surprised. By like the third or fourth month, people are always writing me like, I don't know how, but my work has like completely transformed. And it's because you're letting the wheel of those seminars move into the subconscious. The subconscious is metabolizing them, and then it's rising in the work when you go into the work. And that's why it's so good to be inside like studio or to just kind of allow yourself to be in process because one of the reasons that the work takes shape while you're in the academy is because you're letting those seminars in. And when I did those seminars, it's craft and technique and very tactile. They're very tactile, but they're also done in a way to hit the subtle body, to hit the subconscious. So you don't have to like bear down because it's gonna get integrated. It just will. And you'll find that it will. It's actually quite miraculous what can happen. So those vignettes will find their form if you keep writing. So yeah. So, yeah. Hopefully you're sweating because you're detoxing that other way of doing things, right? That we were taught so long ago. Like, I used to get so stressed when I was like trying to memorize things and all of that. Um, Okay. Is there anything else inside there, Samantha, that would be helpful or?
No, no, I think like you nailed it. And I've had a good day of being in my head with my memoir and just like caring about it and letting it tell me what it wants to do. And that's why I think I love the vignettes right now because they're pouring out of me and I'm just taking care of them.
That's exactly right. And you're in communion with something. You can feel it, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
you're no longer having, it's almost like how the body works. Like, oh, I gotta remind my lungs to breathe and my heart to beat. It's not like that, right? It's like I'm living inside this thing that is going to do its job. I have to do my job too. I have to feed it and give it water and everything. But you're living with something when your book starts to find itself and the book takes care of a lot. It has its own intelligence, so you can really trust that. And then you're feeding it a lot by being in the academy, by hearing the seminars, by being in studio, by being in work in progress salons, meeting the luminaries. All of it is the way to kind of give the plant some sunshine, but it does have its own intelligence that's
Yeah.
mysterious.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I don't really have any questions. I was just wondering if
Thank you.
All right,
that
sweetie.
guy, I forgot his name, that mom used for, and I just was wondering.
Okay, let's see. We've got an interloper here. I don't know if you're here, Jen, if you
Hi,
can.
Suzanne. Sorry, I just muted that person. So sorry.
Oh,
I
no,
was
that's okay, no
sleeping
problem.
on the job. Not sleeping, listening.
In other calls, that would be me talking to my dog or something, forgetting that I wasn't muted. So I can relate. Okay, Rosie, are you here, sweetheart? You find her.
I'm
She.
here.
Oh my God! Hi.
I'm walking outside.
Oh, Ashley's here too from your group. Can you see her? I don't know. She's waving to you. Uh,
Oh,
Rosie, it's so good to see you. I like your hat.
thank you. It's so good to see you too.
Oh, and I loved your question, and you've asked this question before, sweetheart, about
I
the your
feel
topic can be
that.
dark, and so let's talk about it,
Yeah,
dark and the flashbacks, and are there's too many flashbacks? And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
really
because I read through it. I read through the whole thing. I can't believe
yeah.
I got a second manuscript, right? And and of course it's going to hit me different than the reader because I lived this, right? And it was hard. Like I like just talking to it's like a lot.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
so much came up.
Yeah.
Um, so when I first started writing it, I want because it's kind of my personality. Like I'm a very attracted to like dark comedies. Like I love the humor in life, but I love the darkness too. I'm not like a depressed person, but I find the darkness fascinating, right? So
Yeah.
I felt like, I don't know if it's intellectual or intuitive, but I felt like this is a really dark story. And I wanted the flashbacks for me, people to show like I wasn't always like this. Do you know what I mean? I wanted them, the reader to see, oh my God, like she really had this full, wonderful life. And then, I went to the lowest possible thing. So that's why I was asking about it. I don't want to scare the reader away, especially if it's people who've had mental illness and being triggered. And so anyway, I'm open to any, feedback you have.
Yeah, no, it's such a good question. What I love about it is that it's so you. You want to take care of your reader. And that's a lot of your work is caretaking, is like I'm going to go back in time and show you that I was there once and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's so much of your work in the world is around that beautiful need to caretake, and we want to keep that in the work. So Rosie, one of the things that you can do that people forget is you're in conversation with your reader. So at
Yeah.
the beginning of the book, you can say to the reader, oh my God, you guys, I totally don't want to overwhelm you. Like, some of this is dark, but I just want to tell you, like, I have also had like this incredible life of song and joy and like fun and love, and you're like that too. I know that you're not your darkest self. I know that you're the whole complex, big, beautiful package. So a lot of the way that we talk to the reader is this encouragement, is this I see you. You know what I mean? I see who you are. I'm like that too. And once you can establish that conversation with them
Mm-hmm.
and that relationship and let them know, like I just read Stephanie Foo's book about complex
Oh,
PTSD. Yeah,
I read it too. Yes, it's
I
amazing.
loved it. It was awesome. And do you know at the beginning when she says that, she's like, you guys, I'm going to talk about the really dark stuff. And if
Yes.
you skip to the end, like I can promise you that this is a memoir of hope. But it was
Yes.
so helpful. It was like she fronted me with that. And she didn't do it as like a sensitivity read or anything like that. She honestly, like, I felt like she was like reaching out of the book to me, being like, oh my gosh, you're going to go through this, but I am telling you, this is a redemption story, you
Yeah.
know? So I
Yeah.
think you can really do that with your reader, and no flashbacks. It's never too much,
Okay.
right?
Great. Great.
Right?
There. Yes, that's great.
Because you're moving in time. Think
Yeah.
about it. Our whole day, my whole day is a flashback. I'm like having so many memories all the time, and I'm sure you are too. So you can just integrate those like you would in a book. I love it.
So helpful, and I can feel like this has been a long time that I've been at this, and I
Yeah.
don't even, I was thinking, is this my fourth or fifth gateless, and
Yeah.
I'm not a slow learner. I'm a quick learner, but I know there's so much here. That's why I keep coming back. And then
Yeah.
I can feel it, like just like what you said. It's like I don't know, it just works. It's like I'm too know what to do, and I could feel the bird, it wants to emerge. And I could already see, like, from very beginning my writing to like recent, I'm like, oh my God, like the growth, and like, okay, now I got to go back to the early writing, but I know what to do because of you. So thank you so much, Suzanne. Thank you. I mean, I can't believe it. I'm so excited.
I remember when you came and you're like, I'm not really a writer. I've not really written anything. Like, you were sort of like nervous about that part of it. And now look at you. You're such a sophisticated writer, and people just really respond to your work. And it's just been amazing to see. And now you'll have a book, and the book will move out into the world like you
Yeah,
do. It will
yeah,
be,
thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
And thank
really.
you for my questions. You gave me just what I needed, and now I know what to do.
Yeah, good. I'm so
Thank
glad.
you. Thank you, Suzanne.
Yeah, it's great to have you, Rosie. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh,
And
thank you.
it's great to have you back. You and your song and your beauty. Okay, I'm gonna look at what you guys. Yeah, I know. I love it. I like dark comedy. I know. I totally wanted to ask her, like, well, which dark comedies? I love them too. So it's a good thing, like that Rosie's asking about that, because we have fears of this dark thing. We have fears of revision. We have fears that we're not going to be able to get the book done. We have, all these fears, and every writer is different. So you might come into the academy, Kelly Anderson is your luminary this year. She came into the academy, she wrote her book, she sold her book. You know what I mean? And that's great. Like you can absolutely do that. And she thinks very deeply about the writing process but it was just like sort of her trajectory. And now she's writing another one and she's going to come back and talk to you guys about that process. But like sometimes you're in a relationship with the work that isn't just one and done like that. And that's beautiful too. And this idea that we get to have this relationship with our literary art in whatever way we want to is so important, because sometimes when I see questions, it almost feels like people don't understand, like, you have agency over this process. If you want to start in November and finish in July, well, then do that. You know what I mean? Great. Absolutely. Why not? And then we'll help you sell it and you'll get your agent and you'll go merrily along. If you decide that you get inside here and you want to like really be inside the process and like, wow, this chapter led me on this wild trajectory and I published this article and then do that. Like whatever you want to do inside of this container, it's going to be beautiful. You have agency over it. It's your academy, it's your book. So don't think that, like, oh my God, I'm going to get in the middle of this and I'm going to get stuck and I'm not going to finish. And what if this goes on and on? And no, you don't have to, it doesn't have to. We'll make sure it doesn't. If you don't want to go on and on with it, then you won't. And if you decide, like, I want to take time with this and every chapter, I want to make these chapters into essays and publish, then let's do that. Like, absolutely anything you want to do, we're going to do. Like, whatever vision comes up, we'll make it happen. We'll sit here and we'll figure out how to do it. Okay, let me see if you guys have questions.
Suzanne, I'm so sorry. I just have to step off. So I will abscond my co-host
Okay, I think I got
privileges.
it.
Love you.
I love you too, sweetie. I'll make a host. Thank you so much for coming. I always love being in your presence.
Samesies. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, Molly, that is so true. She says, because I make a living narrating audiobooks, what you're articulating helps me better understand why the books I love to give voice to flow like a fast-moving waterfall. That is exactly right. And what's so fascinating, Molly, is that, like, isn't it wild that they're the easiest ones to read? You're just like, oh, I love this. I read it in an afternoon. I couldn't stop reading it. I read it in a week or whatever. And what happened was that the person had so many tools and so much technique, tactile technique, and had so much room to explore that then the book did get this current and it just moves, but it doesn't happen just from like, oh, I downloaded this book and somebody read it in a week. If you download the book and you don't apply craft, it does just feel like that it's all over the place. You can't quite figure out where the trajectory is. It doesn't have that propulsive forward movement. So that's why craft is so fun. It gives you all this agency to make the book really tight and to let all that other stuff drift away. I mean, revising, you guys, is so fun. It's like, if you think about the word revision, you get to revision, like you get to have your vision all over again and apply craft to it. Like the book downloads itself and it's like, oh wow, I have this banquet of scenes and maybe chapters and characters and everything, and then I get to Revision is like entering it again, but with vision, with tools, with tactile techniques, with the ability to like look at all these elements. And it's a blast. It's like, I remember Deb saying, like, I just get up in the morning and I make my coffee and I like can't wait to go to my book. That's how it feels. It's like once you know how to revise, you're gonna have a party on the page. It is so fun. It's like you're like doing something that feels really good because you know how to do it. I love revision. It's such a great comment, Molly. Yeah, detail instead of opinion, Kimmy. That's exactly what it is. Jeshua. Okay, I have a question about revising older pieces of my writing in my present work in Gateless for this present book that's still clarifying, still landing. I've been through so much in the last few years, yes. And so my voice and channel have truly changed since I wrote them. And yet these older pieces still have life, yes, and medicine, yes. And I can feel how they have something they want to give and ways their medicine could be aligned with the overarching transmission of the book. Absolutely. Sometimes I feel like a purist. Okay, this is important. This is the question. Sometimes I feel like a purist around needing what I'm working on to be fresh and current and congruent with my present lens. And clearly, I want all the pieces in this memoir to carry a congruence in tone, voice, and lens. It's tricky for me to understand how to bridge the old voice and lens with what's new and changed inside me. I have one word: craft. You are going to be able to enter that work with these tools and know how to build that bridge. You just are, Joshua. That medicine that's in that work, that energy that's in the draft, it's the intelligence of the word. If I look back at my journal when I was 16 years old in Finland, I can see the intelligence of the word trying to move through. And it does move through. There's wisdom there. I was so young, but I can see it in those journals. But I wouldn't go to publish those journals necessarily because now I have another kind of vision, an adult vision, and I also have a ton of craft. So I could take that Finland journal and create a novel that takes place over 6 weeks of a girl coming of age, getting out of the abuse of one home and into this incredible family that she met that changed her life forever. But I wouldn't publish the journal. I would allow the energy of that journal to rise and that intelligence of the word. And then I would take all that I know now about craft, all that I know now about technique, all that I know now about the literary artist as a visionary, and I would apply it. And I would create a book, a little thin book that I probably would love. So you are going to learn how to build that bridge. It is good that you're looking back and wondering what to do with it and being able to see the energy of it and knowing that there's medicine there. It's also good that you know, like, this isn't quite here where I am now. And that transformation that's going to happen so that the energy isn't lost, the medicine isn't lost, but the book feels congruent with who you are now is why you're here. It's why you're here. That is what the craft does. So when you say, like, I don't know what you really mean by craft, people say that all the time. I don't know what you're talking about. You will, because you're going to have the tools. It's going to feel like, oh my God, I have agency over building this bridge that I really know I could build so that I can still get that medicine, but it doesn't feel old to me. Does that make sense, love? Are you here? Still. Well, if you're not here, you'll listen to it on replay. Andrea, editing is like giving a haircut. Writing is like trying to grow hair. Yeah, exactly. Like, where's my beauty salon? Oh, here it is. Oh my God. I swear I get high every time I get on a call with you. Oh, good. We should do it more often. We need to get high in this world a little more often in a very clean way that doesn't give us a hangover. Okay, I'm looking, you guys. If I'm not hitting you, let me know because you could unmute and tell me what your question is. Yeah, Elisa, everything that grows will find a pattern. Yeah, it's so true. It's so hard to believe that. I think it's very hard to believe what I'm saying until you get inside the portal because it's sort of like so different than we're used to learning. And yet it actually works with how our brain, creative brain works. And once you get into it, it won't feel foreign. It will feel like, oh, I get this because I've wanted to learn like this all along, but I've never really been able to. Um, yeah, what is the name of that memoir, Laura? I can't remember. She sold it for a ton of money, the one that was in the Academy that wrote about late stage autism. I'm just like forgetting. I don't know if Laura's still on here. Um, oh yeah, Sherry Kaplan, are you still here? Gosh, yeah, there
I
you are.
am. Yeah.
Hi, love. How's it going?
Okay. It's
Oh
going.
my God, you
Yeah.
have to write a children's book. You have to. You are so like childlike in so many ways. You have that confluence of like joy and being able to see it from a child's point of view, but also this like wisdom that children have that we always ignore their wisdom. But I love this for you. Do you have questions about it?
Yeah, well, the main one was, and you've kind of answered it at the top of this call, which is like, um, could I work on this in Academy? Is that something that I could send questions about? Because we don't talk about children's books as much in Academy. And then the other was about working on the memoir and the children's book simultaneously because they are going to, well, at least the first book that I have in mind like a whole series, but like it will have a lot of the same themes about, um, but told in a, gentler, like a little more tender way about grief and chronic illness and resiliency and hope and all of those things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, luckily, Kate Baldwin, who's our senior editor for the Academy and who does the work in progress salons, has worked with publishing houses that do
Please.
children's books. So
There's a
she can
clear
help a lot. Hold on, let me see who that is. Hold on.
here.
And
So she's.
okay. I think I did it. And so she's going to be able to answer, questions about that genre. And we didn't used to have her. So it was difficult to, keep abreast of everything that's going on in children's. And then Keith Henry Brown, who was our illustrator for the Academy Symposium, is adjacent to the Academy and can help as well. He's published with everyone, Random House and for our Strauss Giroux, all of the major publishers. And his recent book just won an award. Very exciting. So yeah, we have resources within Gateless on the genre, but I think the story arc is the same. It really is. It's like, what's the question or the challenge or the problem that the main character is moving into, and who is that main character, and being able to ground the work and what is its context. It might not be global, it might be a smaller world for the child, but there's all the elements are still there. And then what we'll do is we'll guide you in terms of like, this particular genre, how to work it out. But I think it's beautiful. And there's somebody else here actually who applied who's working on both a children's book and a memoir, and they sort of like fit into each other. It's very beautiful. So yeah, I think I just feel like it's really, really great in this instance for your particular what you do. Does that help you, or do you have other questions about it?
Yeah, it does. It does help. And in fact, when I wrote it in the comments on a call last week, I think it was, and your reaction to it, which was like similar to what you just said before, was really encouraging because I really value your intuition. And yeah, it just was very validating because it really does for me. I mean, also having been a teacher for so long, and my parents having been teachers, and my mom having become a librarian later. I don't know. It just all fits. But yeah, so
Yeah, that's beautiful. And Kimberly, she just said, I'm working on a children's book memoir about butterfly learning to fly through grief and change. That's right. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's so beautiful. And then Bridget explaining donor contraceptive to kids, contraception to kids. Yeah, so I think you're in good company. And what's great about the Academy is that it's live. So we're going to be looking at the industry all the time and form and is it changing? And I'm always keeping a pulse on that. And so is Kate in terms of this particular genre. But there are so many resources within Gateless to help you do whatever you're trying to do. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. Like I think it just matches you so well, honey. Like it's really exciting.
Thank you so much. Mhm.
I'm excited for you. Yeah, and Katie's saying that she'd always be happy to talk to you. She adores you. Oh, it's
Oh,
so
I
great.
adore her too. Oh, this is perfect. Thank you. And I also wanted to say, like, I'm so glad because I feel like the books deserve the same amount of craft, obviously, like they deserve, because at this level, I mean, distilling it down to something that a child can take in, and I mean, that's like really what it's all about anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. I love that. It's so true. And it does. It takes people some as long to write that genre as it does to any because it's also a poetry. It's a distillation. It's like, there's that kind of ability to move into a form that isn't as verbose, but still has in the white space all of what a book, a novel or memoir might.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. Um, okay, Kim, I love what you're saying about the energy of the draft or different drafts and that everything has a pattern. I have lots of pieces of my working novels sometimes what I go back to is where the energy grabs me. Good, good. That's very gateless. How does craft help you work with finding the pattern? Such a good question. I sometimes feel like I keep creating new material, but need to go back and connect the dots. So, um, one of the things that can sometimes happen is that we connect the dots a little too soon. But also, you do want to go back and like collect, as you're saying, Kimmy, like where is the energy? Where are the pieces that have the energy? And how are they talking to each other? You know what I mean? Like, what are they? Does this piece relate to that piece? If I shifted this main
Yeah.
character and made it into that main character, like if I merge these two characters, what would happen? It's like playing with these different pieces, right, that have energy, and you can kind of feel that. Are you here, sweetheart? Looking for
Um,
you. Oh yeah,
yeah,
there.
I'm here.
Hi, how are you?
Here I am.
So good to see you. So when you play with them, love, like
Good. I'm so
what
glad
are
to be here. Yeah, yeah,
I know, I'm so happy to have you here. And when you play with
yeah.
these elements, like what are you doing? Are you going back and reading them? Are you putting all the ones you love into like a G doc? How are you like moving back into
That's what
them?
I'm trying to do now. Yeah, it's like I've got this huge Google Drive. Whoops, I just lost my screen. But yeah, and I sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the process, and I'm like, have I even read all of this anymore? This has been years since I've been collecting it. And then I'll read something older, something like what another writer was saying, and I'll be like, yeah, this is really the energy that I want to connect to. And now I have different characters built and things like that. So it's sometimes like just the container to connect all the voices and the storyline is the challenge now. So yeah, it is about in my Google Drive mostly. And but I'm still finding old documents that I just wrote, on my desktop or whatever. And so yeah, I would love to dig into craft to pull all these pieces together in the revision process or in the vision process in this case.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So, um, the way that craft works, and you'll be introduced to this a lot in the academy, is that it's geometric. So, like Scientific
Mm.
America had this great essay that I can send you guys that's about the mathematical art of this, in this case, the novel. And every book has this where there's geometry within it. And I'll explain this to you guys so that it doesn't sound like rocket science, but you don't want to place these. So one of the things that I think a lot of craft books get wrong is that they
Yeah.
place the geometry before the story. And what you want to do instead is kind of let those pieces exist. Like, I think it's good to have a big G doc, and kind of
Okay.
one of the things that you can do is put in capital bold letters something that differentiates the scene in your mind, like the supermarket scene with Kathy. Do you know what I mean? So,
Mm,
so when you go through,
yeah.
oh yeah, I remember this one, or the car ride with Beef, or you know what I mean? And you're just like kind
Yeah.
of naming them, not in like a big, this is my chapter way, but more to identify for yourself so that you have them in your memory bank. And then
Totally.
what happens with craft that I think is really important is, and this is so important for the Academy seminars, you don't want to tell yourself, like, now I have to make a circular structure in terms of time. Now I have to make power turn places. What you actually want to do is kind of look at the work and be like, huh, where is the circular space of time here? Like when Daisy and I were talking yesterday, I was,
Oh.
oh, I see the circular space of time that you have. It's a summer. And then we thought like, well, where's the
Mm,
global frame? That's a geometry, the frame. It's like around the book, there will be a global frame. And sometimes you're sort of, oh, I
mm,
kind of had a sense that it was, she said, I kind of had a sense that it was like the summer. And then the novel's kind of things are heating up in it. So that's when I was like, oh, I wonder if it's the summer of 2023. Not a lot going on politically, but you have that heat wave, remember, and the fires. And so it kind of is, you know what I mean? So you're sort of like playing with
yeah.
the elements that are geometric, but
Yeah.
you're not like putting them before the book. It's not like,
Mm,
now what is my circuit? Let the book dictate, like, huh, it feels
yeah.
like this is happening over one summer. Okay, I'm gonna pretend that that's the circle of time the book takes place in. And then I wonder what summer? Well, the songs on
Yeah.
the radio that she's listening to are from 1987. I wonder if I should make it. You know what I mean? So you're sort of like, you have a little more agency because you know these geometric shapes, and the book and you are talking about those shapes. So you're going to see the patterns through the lens of craft once you get like agency over craft. Does this make sense?
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You're,
Yeah,
I'm,
it does. It
yeah. Okay.
does. I like it. Yeah. Very cool.
I think
Oh, I
that
feel like
it,
my connection might be cracked. Yeah.
what's that?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, sweetheart. We were going,
Oh, I
I,
said thank you. That's helpful.
oh,
Yeah.
good. Yeah. It'll make a lot of sense once you get inside of the portal and really start off. Um, Okay, so Jessica, I have a draft memoir that nabbed me an agent in 2022. He advised me to break it into two separate books, which I did. That's a very common um, edit. Then he got sick and wasn't agenting anymore. I talked to another agent last year and said breaking it up was terrible advice. It usually is. It usually means there's an absence of craft, that the person doesn't know how to help you move the integrated book into the next phase. So it often is not true that it's two books. And to smush it back into one. So now I don't know what my manuscript's supposed to be. Okay, so I think, Jessica, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, love. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
See you.
Can you tell us the premise?
So it's about growing up in child abuse, like all different kinds of child abuse, and then it was written based on the healing that I had to do to raise my own three sons, from having a lot of negative interactions with men when I was a young, like a kid.
Great. Fantastic. Right. Everybody wants to read that. It's very apropos of the times. It really works. So this is what I'm hearing, and this is what I think could work for the book. So, one of the things that you'll learn in the architecture seminars when we're inside the portal is that there is this back and forth, which Rosie was sort of alluding to in her own book with the flashbacks, right? So, as we said in Kim's question, there's a frame. There are a lot of frames in the book. And one of the frames, not always, but sometimes in a book like this, which is an actualization memoir, it's like I was here and now I'm here. And so my lens has switched, and this is how I'm breaking generational trauma in order that it won't happen again, right? I mean,
Mhm.
in sort of a very basic thematic way, we might say that. So, what you're going to do, and we don't know how yet, but we can work on this as you go along, is we're going to create a present day frame around the past story. Now, we're maybe going to go back and forth with
Okay.
these two stories. And so it's like you're having a present day where you're, guiding your son, right? And then it's going to slip. The next chapter maybe is going to be something in the past that relates to that. And it's like we're seeing the arc of the narrator inside of those two scenes. And that happens again and again and again. Maybe
Okay.
going to do it like that. And that's like the what I call the wrapper story. And you're going to learn about that, but we can also from the get-go work on that together. It's
Okay.
like here's your wrapper story, which is the redemption story, really. It's the arc. It's the end of the arc, except that you're integrating it in this case inside the story. Like I am here, now, and then I was here. And then I'm here now, but I was here. And we're starting to see, oh my gosh, and how? How did she get here where she's able to guide these sons from there where these horrible things happen, these terrible
Okay.
sort of patriarchal abuses happen, and then this and this. That's one of the ways. Or if the author doesn't feel like she has equal scenes in past and present, the wrapper story can be like one scene at the beginning. Then we go back in time and we see the trajectory of going to the last scene, which is like, here I am again, I'm okay. You know, but it hardly ever is it like, I'm just going to start with the bad thing and go all the way up and expect to get to the other thing. There's often like a fun architecture that we get to use inside of those two stories. Is this making any sense?
It does. It's actually giving me a lot to sort of ponder over because right now it's just sort of chronological, which doesn't feel quite right. So yeah, that gives me a lot to think about. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just play with that idea of the wrapper. I
Okay.
would play with it, and I would play with time because you know the chronology. And what's great about putting it in chronological time is to know for yourself, to orient yourself with how it happened.
Mhm.
And then you can shuffle it around and be like, well, what if I put, this kind of has to do with this, and that has to do with that. So I'm going to put these in different places in order that the past and the present talk to each other and just see what happens.
Okay. That actually sounds really fun.
Yeah,
It sounds like a cool puzzle.
yeah, oh, totally. It's a total jigsaw. And but you have one book. I believe you have one
Okay.
book. Yeah.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. I'm not glad that your agent got sick, but I'm glad that you're able to move it back into one manuscript. I think it's going to be really fun.
Thank you.
And you're, obviously a beautiful writer. So, um, all right, you guys, anyone else want to put anything in here? Did I miss anybody? Okay, I'm gonna Bridget. I have bits and pieces of memoir, but I'm not sure how to really sit down and write it for real. Also, I have a lot of old blogs and content from my website that I'm trying to include. It's almost taking more time to find out how I can utilize old content. Okay, Bridget, can you unmute? Are you here,
Yep,
love?
I'm unmuted.
Hi, how are
Hi.
you? Where are you? Oh, there you are. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Good to
Good.
see you here. Okay, so what happens when you sit down to write right now? Are you in studio yet? Or are you waiting for the January 1st start for the Academy
I'm in
studio?
now. I'm in.
You're in now. Okay, good.
Yes.
That's right. I kind of remembered that about you.
Mm.
Okay, so when you're in studio, what happens? What are you writing?
Oh no, I mean I'm just starting now, I guess.
Oh, you're just starting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you guys for the Academy, you start January 1st, so
Okay.
you might not you're not writing now in studio.
No.
Okay, yeah, I thought you were. Okay, that's okay. So
Okay.
you're gonna start to write in studio on January 1st. And what we
Mhm.
want to do is you have that past material and you've read it over and you know what it is, right? And you
Mhm.
do what Kimmy's gonna do, which is like, capitalize and bold. Just remind yourself what they are. Like if you were to contextualize them, it's like, this is stuff about X. This is the scene about Y. Just go through and kind of label them and leave them. And then
Okay.
and then as we start, studio starts on January 2nd. I guess it is for
Okay.
you guys. So what I would do is I would listen to the stuff on the Critic, which is the first month in the portal. And really, if there's any of that block, just write into it. Like if there's any blocks that are happening around generating new content, or how do I use my old content, or oh my God, if I don't use it, or I don't know how to do this, or just kind of let them get it out of the subconscious if you can, and out of that little staticky place in the mind that it can get stuck, and just
Mhm.
put it like take a CVS notebook and just sort of write out what's going on for you, and
Okay.
then write out what feels exciting about
Mhm.
creating new content, and tell yourself that you're in the academy in order that you're going to know exactly what to do with that
Yeah.
old. That's why you're here. And
Yeah.
you are going to know, and we're going to talk about it. Like, if you ever feel like, oh, Suzanne, I don't know, I feel like I'm not using X or Y, or want to use this, but I don't know where to fit it, then we'll do what we just did, with the
Mhm.
memoir, putting it in the frame or whatever. Like, it's not rocket science, but we'll be able to
No.
do it together. But what I would do now is start to get sort of primed for writing
Mhm.
new material.
Okay.
Because what Jeshua said is really true. It's like there is a whole wealth of perspective that you have now and vision. And now you're going to have like tools and craft and agency over the writing itself and all of that. So you
Mhm.
kind of want to see what happens when you start to
Mhm.
write. So do
Okay.
go to studio. Go at least like once a week, if not twice a week, and just let yourself go. Even if you only write and you have to jettison after that, that's okay. It's like just really try to see what's coming new, and let's try to figure out what that new material is saying in terms of the patterning of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And when I write faster, it's better.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
totally. Yeah.
yeah.
I know a lot of
Okay.
people will be like, I can't write in 20-minute increments. It's like, that's because the critic isn't letting you. You
No.
know what I mean? Because we can all write really quickly. And actually, it's usually like Sheena is on this call. And I remember when she went to see her agent, and her agent was showing her the pieces that had the most sort of energy to them. And Sheena was like, it was all stuff I wrote in Gateless,
Mhm.
because there is some energy about like, I'm going to
Yeah.
sit here and just get into the theta brain state and just go. And then it's
Mhm.
incredible what comes out when we're not trying to control the work. So I think it's going to be really fun, and we'll keep talking about it,
Mhm.
how to integrate the two.
And also integrating sort of factual, because it's a fertility landscape that's really changed, bringing in, there's a lot. I mean, there's my story, but then also I want to give an explanation of some of the procedures in sort of layman's terms. So that's
Yes.
another element.
Yeah, and it's really placing those, like where
Mm.
do I want them placed?
Yeah.
Because you have those, right? And those
Yeah.
are, changes probably every year, like,
Yeah.
every 6
Mhm.
months or something.
Yeah.
And so I would say, like, those, or you're going to know those. And those are going to be this kind of tonality that's very factual, that kind of gives the work the bones. And then what you're
Mhm.
doing in the rest of this book is you're really filling out the body of it. You're making it very warm for the reader, and you're connecting with the reader. And so
Mhm.
I would really allow that to sort of start happening, because the factual stuff, all we need to do with the factual stuff is figure out how we're going to balance narrative with it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep. Makes sense. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad you're here. It's great to have you. Okay, let me see if anybody have any other questions. Hi, Jordan. My hair is on fire. Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne, I have a scene I kept writing over and over because I'm not happy with it. Do you have any thoughts about that? What are you here, Melissa? Let me see if she's
I'm here.
Oh, hi, love. What don't you like about the scene? Do you know?
I don't. I just keep writing it over and over and changing parts of it, and I'm just not happy with it.
Is it a pivotal scene in the book?
Yes,
Okay, is it the ending or beginning?
it's toward the end. It's not quite at the end, but it's close to it.
Okay. So there are a couple things you can do. One of them is, if you haven't done it already, is write it from a different point of view. You can put them in a different setting, you know, that you can like play like you are and rewrite it. The other thing that can be very, 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 very helpful is to let it go for a little bit, like kind of a long bit. Because what happens when we don't pay attention to it and we pay attention to everything else is that
Yeah,
the subconscious kind of works out what you didn't
like
like.
about it.
Yeah, it will find its thing and you'll be like, "Oh my God." So
Mhm.
in my first book, I remember I wrote my first chapter. I mean, like honestly, I must have written that chapter like not even the first chapter, it was just the first scene, like
Yeah,
52 times. It might have just been the first paragraph or something. And I remember even where I was, that I'd kind of taken a little vacation with my book and it was very close to being finished.
yeah.
I was like, I am not getting this. Like, this isn't what I don't know why, but this isn't
Uh-huh.
what I wanting to put forward as my first thing. And then I just left it. I was like, I'm not going to keep grinding this because this isn't how I work the grind. It doesn't work well. And so I left it and I just didn't even think about it. And I did every other revision. And I worked on architecture and I worked and, I did all this stuff. I went back home and then I was able to really figure out like what
And it came to you.
I know. Hold on. I'll try to find who's not.
Capital now to get your free gold kit, your free silver kit, and your free
Oh my
transfer.
God.
Call 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. That's 800-630.
Okay. Melissa, I think I actually had to mute you. I don't know why that happened, but there was like some advertisement for like knives or something coming through. Anyway, love. So that's what I would do. I would leave it and then I would come back to it after a while and see if it has figured itself out. I think she went away, but she'll get it later. Oh no, she's still here. Are you still there, Melissa? I can't get her unmuted. Anyway, all right. I love you, Melissa. Hopefully you got that. Sometimes it looks like the little finger that I'm moving around my screen is a middle finger. It's like, wait a second. Oh God. All right. Let me see if anyone else has a question. I know, Laura, it was hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay, quick follow-up question around how to encourage myself from your perspective about not feeling like I'm giving up on the memoir in order to focus on a children's book if there's time. I really want to talk about this, Sherry. If you can unmute, I'm gonna ask unmute. See,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about that question
Okay.
because I think it's hilarious that we have been brought up in this culture that tells us there's like one thing. Like, did you ever guys ever hear that book? I think it's actually called One Thing. And it's like this guy and he's telling you have to choose one thing. If you don't choose one thing, I'm gonna fail at life or whatever. And I remember being like, oh God, like I have a million things I like to do. And for me, it always feels like one kind of informs the other. It's sort of interesting that you asked this question as a follow-up after Melissa, because I feel like, and I talk about this a lot. I didn't ski very much as a kid because my parents weren't skiers. And so I would have to go with like my friends or whatever. And I remember that I would go with my boyfriend. He was a big skier and he had a house, like a ski house and everything. and I would be like, pretty shitty, skier, and he would teach me all these different things, and I would do okay over like, we'd go away for like 5 or 6 days or whatever. And this was when I was young, like 16 or 17. And then I would completely forget about skiing. And I would be doing all this other stuff and, doing field hockey and running around with my friends and everything. And then next winter, we'd go up to Okemo again, and I would be like such a better skier. So I think like what would happen is everything that Jay taught me would kind of get metabolized in my mind. But if I had kept skiing, I don't think that I would have had that great a leap. It was like I would have been kind of in my head a little bit, like, am I doing this right? Do I have the switchback? Da, da, da. But somehow going away from it and letting myself just metabolize it. Then when I went back to the mountain, it would almost be like unbelievable, how much better I had gotten. I would just like, oh, I know how to do this now. So I think going away from something and working on something else, like when Molly was asking about the fiber art, it's like, yeah, you should do fiber art. You should do collage. You should, you know what I mean? You do want to do a lot of things. Like at the fall retreat, one of our Gateless teachers led found object kind of collage workshop, and it really worked. It was like afterwards that night, there was like a huge session, huge salon where people really, really got these incredible stories out. And I remember thinking that's fascinating because we kind of like moved away from the writing and into this other form. And I think it happens with genres too. It's like, I'm just going to stop focusing there and I'm going to focus here. And then you come back to the memoir and you will come back to it. And you're like, oh, all these pieces fit together. And like, kind of what difference does it make? You know what I mean? You're working with the word. That is what's important. You are working with the word. The word is extremely powerful and doesn't matter. It's like the memoir informs the children's book. The children's book moves itself into a novel. You're going to finish. Why wouldn't you? Everything that forms a pattern also forms a completion. You know what I mean? It is going to find its way. And probably many things are going to find their way if we do what Deb did, which was just like, oh, I know, I'll make this into a novel. I won't tell myself any story about this. I'm not going to tell myself, like, oh, my memoir's doomed and I'm not like, I should be. No, she was just like, oh, you know what I could do? I could make it into a novel. I wonder how you do that. So it's sort of like allowing for this transformation to happen in order that we stay with the art of the literary. And that when you go to manuscript libraries, like Ole Miss has an incredible manuscript library in Oxford. And if you go into those manuscript libraries and you look at how the authors moved their manuscripts, they did like family trees, for a while the memoir was like told from this point of view, and then he skipped 5 generations and told it from the future, and then the novel was like in the grandmother's thing and it was in letters, and then they took it out of that, and they allow for the metamorphosis to happen within the artistic process without getting so rigid of like, I have to do it like this and I started like this and I'm going to finish like. It's very patriarchal, it's very hierarchical. It's also like this feeling of like only one way. So I think when we let this energy come and do what it wants to do, we complete things faster because you're following the natural order of what's trying to be born inside this space. And many things can be born. It doesn't mean you're abandoning the memoir. It means you're also allowing for this children's book to be born. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And it was sort of my intuition, but then I kind of talked myself out of it, like, well, maybe you're just telling yourself that so you can kind of like get off the hook of writing the other. But yeah, and I had an experience, my first time ever going to a writing retreat. I we were writing in the morning and then we had the afternoons free, and I went to like a sketch class, and I hadn't done art since I was a child and thought I lost it. I did. I had lost being able to draw, and then that day I was able to. It was like the writing unlocked that talent again that was like dormant for so long. And but you're saying it was like the same thing, but in reverse of what happened at the fall retreat. So it's really amazing what can happen when we
It's
just let
incredible.
things flow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I remember when I was working on that same book that I just told you guys about with the first paragraph, that I would make these huge installations like I'd collect things and I would make them out of like fabric and bark and like skulls that I found in the woods, and it was a very internal time. And I started to get these pieces in galleries, and I remember not caring really that they were in the galleries, and there'd be like gallery shows and sometimes I'd win like an award or whatever, but it like didn't matter to me. It was sort of a place for the creative energy to play so that it could kind of play with something else and have agency over some other form in order that I could go and enter the book again. And the two, it was very clear that the two were talking to me and that I didn't have to be the CEO of it. And one time there was like a gallery like jury or something, and you had to be present. So I had the work was there and they invited me to come, and then there was a jury and they would like ask you questions about the work. And there was this one woman, and I remember she was like a mad woman. You know what I mean? She was like angry and like she had this furrowed brow and she was sort of like didn't look happy. And she kept saying to me, like, well, what is it? What are these things? What do they mean? And I was like, I finally just said to her, I don't know. I mean, you either like them or you don't. I don't really know what they mean. They come through me, I build them. You guys asked me to come and talk to a jury. Here I am. But like, it doesn't bother me. If you want this or you don't want it, you want to give it a prize, you want to burn it up and get it out of your gallery, it just doesn't make any difference. And then I stopped talking and they were all like, like it was so foreign to them. But it is because we're kind of putting this the only word I can have for it is like this patriarchal idea on top of art and the creative. It's like the creative is going to find its way in such an astounding way that you can't even imagine now if you just let it through. And then when that thing comes that says, oh my God, I'm abandoning my memoir, that's that other way of thinking, the conditioned way of thinking. And we think that somehow that has the answer, or it's going to reach the goal, or it's going to like, have the product or something. I don't think so. I haven't seen that. What I've seen is the people that allow these things to grow organically in a grassroots way are the ones that come into their own. It's very beautiful. It's like when Laura Belgray and I were working on our book, I said to her, like, what do you want this to be? Do you want this to be a series television show? Do you want it to be a chronological memoir? Do you want it to be a book of essays? And she was like, I want it to be a book of essays. And I was like, okay, great, let's do that. Like, anything can happen inside this place. We don't have to tell it that it has to be something. It's going to find its way if you really think, what does this work want to be? It wants to be essays. Okay, great. And they're published, and she had great success with it. Everybody loves that book. So it's sort of like allowing, for once, for us to bow and pray to the energy that feels alive within us, because why else are we here? We are not here to go to the DMV all the time. You know what I mean? We're here to have a blast and see what we're made of and see where that energy is and see that the energy has power and apply craft to it and let ourselves get messy and happy with it so that we can find out, what is this thing? What does it want to build? I'm going to give it everything it needs so it has the traction to build something. And wow, look at what it is. It's a children's book, but it's also a memoir, because as soon as I started working on the children's book, I knew exactly what to do with the memoir. And now they're both out in the world. And wow, now I'm working on a novel. Like, who knows what you're going to do? But I know you're going to do amazing things, Sherry, because you're an incredible person and you're such an amazing writer. I mean, I think Kate would like faint after she wrote with you. She would be like, she's just so good.
I will just quickly add that the genesis, the moment that I had the idea, idea was born because we rescued a cat when he was 11 and he had gotten out, and then we got him back. And anyway, he was convalescing in this room, and I was sitting with him, and I was like, oh, Teddy, like you and I are so alike in what we deal with. And it was just like, oh, why don't I write your story? Because you could help so many kids. And which is exactly what I was hoping for with my memoir, was like to help people with their grief. So anyway, yeah, it was this beautiful moment of like symbiosis of the two things. So
I love that. And it's Marlene Goldberg is saying there's this novel where the children's book is embedded in the novel since one of the sisters told stories.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
And interesting, right?
Thank you
Beautiful.
so much. This is
So
really,
great.
really encouraging and so, so helpful.
I love having you here. My hair was so like nicely brushed and combed before I did the comb. Now I look a little like wow. Okay. Andrew, so nice to be here. Thank you, Suzanne. Looking forward to sending my applications. And oh, good. I'm so happy when you guys apply. We met at Omega. Oh my God. I've been looking for you. I'm the keeper of the horse story. Oh my God. Are you here? I have been looking for this woman for so long. I loved her. We met at a kirtan. Well, I got to reach out to her. Oh, I'm so happy she's here. It's so great when you find someone. You guys, I had so much fun with you. I feel like I kept you for so long, but that's okay. I think we're I think we're meant to be together. What else is there to do? Might as well just hang out together and talk about literary art and the creative urges that we have. But listen, you guys, if you have any questions, just let me know. For those of you who are inside the academy now, you can always ask me questions. Just send me an email. And it's fun to meet, but it's also fun to answer you in writing and like dissect it in that way and ask you questions. We have the literary for that reason. But I adore you. Thank you so much for coming and for hanging out. Everyone who's still here is going to be a bestseller. Because you have the commitment, you have the grit. Anyway, it's so good to have you guys here. Thank you so much for coming. And keep in touch with me. Ask me questions. I love to talk about all of this. Mwah, mwah.